Hey all, Alex here at your home of the Music Deep Dive, and today we'll be doing a review of the 1847 novel by Emily Brontë, Wuthering Heights. Emily Jane Brontë, born the 30th of July 1818 in Thornton, Yorkshire, died the 19th of December 1848 in Haworth, Yorkshire. The middle of the three Brontë sisters, Emily was also the most reclusive, in part because of poor health, but also the result of her personality. While details about her personal life are scarce, it's known that she generally didn't make friends and generally didn't seem to care to, preferring her own company and also the company of animals. Wuthering Heights was the only novel she completed during her lifetime, written somewhat in secrecy and to the shock of her sisters when it was published, and while a second novel was reportedly in its gestation period, it was never completed. Emily's frail health caught up to her, and she died at the age of 30 in 1848, just 3 months after the death of her older brother, Branwell. The personality of Emily bears special mention when talking about Wuthering Heights in comparison with her sister's works because, make no mistake, this is a massively different book from anything that Charlotte or Anne wrote on almost every level. There is a gothic influence in the setting and themes of this novel, but I wouldn't even call this just a gothic novel because that's almost too constricting of a description. It is something more than that, more expressive, more horrific, more violent. And this starts with the Wuthering Heights house itself, which is located in these dark, damp moors that oppress the reader from the get-go and cause discomfort from the very first descriptions. The darkness also extends to the people who inhabit the house and its surrounding areas. It all feels rather accursed, and once the first ghost sighting occurs, you know it. Oh boy, the characters in this book. These characters are across the board awful people. Like, I don't think there's really a redeemable figure here. Having said that, though, if they're not redeemable characters, they are all tragic figures, a sort of product of their environment and also the people surrounding them. Trauma compounding on itself, I suppose you could say. The romance of Catherine and Heathcliff is the central relationship, which is fascinating since, and maybe this is a spoiler for some, but it's revealed very early on, Catherine dies, and this event takes place approximately halfway through the book. Everything that happens afterwards is a consequence of their relationship, both in Heathcliff's actions and also in that their respective children are involved. For as consequential as that relationship is, though, the characters of Catherine and Heathcliff prevent this from being a purely tragic romance. They both act horribly and spitefully to each other and to others. And after Catherine's death, Heathcliff fully transforms into a villain, the likes of which you really aren't going to come across very often, certainly not in this era of literature. The success of Heathcliff as a character is, again, somewhat due to the tragedy of his circumstance. He grows up oppressed due to his birth and is physically abused as a child, so it's a villain origin story that makes logical sense. But never once are his actions excused, especially when he becomes the master of Wuthering Heights. His cruelty and manipulation is hinted at constantly, and it finally reveals itself fully and explicitly in the final act. There is no sugarcoating how violent and horrifying this book becomes towards the end and how much power Heathcliff wields over all of the other figures in the story. Does he get his comeuppance? In a sense, but not in a way that's especially satisfying. And again, because there's no character in here, apart maybe from the character of Nellie, who is a genuinely decent human being, I walked away from this book not so much with sympathy for those involved, but with a general sense of disgust for everything. To be clear, though, this is a success. This means Emily pulled off what she was going for here. I haven't talked about the prose writing yet, but it has to be mentioned because this book absolutely explodes off the page. For someone as remarkably introverted as Emily Brontë was, she knows how to write a damn compelling dialogue scene, and her descriptions of places and people are sharp really allowing you to just kind of sit in the murk, in the swamp with these buildings and with these individuals. I know it's the obvious point to make when talking about this book, but it really is remarkable how a concept this uniquely depraved could come from someone so sheltered and isolated, and it speaks to both Emily's creativity and her perceptiveness of the human condition and of other human beings in general. I dare not spoil anything else about this book, frankly, because it is a ride. There was a lot about it that I did not know going in, and to read it was to be compelled by it, and I was for days on end. So, absolutely fantastic stuff. Now, having done this initial round of Brontë novels, and we will be talking about the later ones as well, the obvious question will be whether or not I rate Wuthering Heights over Jane Eyre. I do, but their appeals are different in enough ways to where I think you're going to get enough interesting things out of both novels to make both incredibly worthwhile reads. I don't know that I would recommend one over the other per se. It all depends on your taste. Comparisons aside, though, just treating it as an individual work, Wuthering Heights floored me, and I knew it was going to be great because the acclaim is out there. Not instantaneous acclaim, though. I mean, it's sort of compiled itself over the last century. Also, enough people I know have loved it and recommended it. But I wasn't expecting the level of darkness and ugliness that we get here. To be shocked and taken aback in the 2020s by a book written in the 1840s is a pretty remarkable achievement. So kudos to Emily, and what a shame that she wasn't able to show her gifts any more than she was. Remarkable book that gets the highest of recommendations, truly a thrill, superb. And that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, more reviews are to come. Tell a friend as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time, right here at your home of the Music Deep Dive.